Hey, yeah, there we go. It's me, John Park, and it's time for JP's product pick of the week. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I love that song. Welcome to the people in our chats. You may be watching this on one of the many platforms to which we stream, but the chats that we look at are our own Discord server. You can head to adafruit.it/discord and jump on in over there. That's what our server looks like. Look for the live broadcast chat channel. Or head on over to YouTube, keeping an eyeball on the chat there. Hey, Taco the World and Dave Odessa, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Mike P. and Koyoshi and C. Grover, Dexter, I think Todd Kurt was there, Jim Hendrickson, hello. Welcome, thanks for stopping by. So, if you're not familiar, this is the show where I pick something that we have in the store, sometimes a new product. This is a fairly new one today. And I demo it for you. I give you a humongous discount. I think we got 50% off this week on the product pick. And if you want to get a jump start on things, head on over to that URL right there, or that QR code, and that will take you to the product page for this product, inside of which this video is still playing, but your discount is right there. You just refresh the page if you haven't in a while, if you're already there. I'm going to do the same myself right now, and we should see that drop by 50%. Am I right? Yes. Wow. So we've stashed a bunch of these in the back just to sell on the show. You don't need a coupon code. Just put them in your cart. Buy them during the show, during the time period of this show, and you'll get the discount. You've got a little bit of a grace period afterward, but it's not all day long or anything wacky like that. It's just during the show. So you're getting your discount by jumping in on this now. Time is of the essence. So before I go any further, this is one for which we did get a Lady Ada new right before she took off to deal with other matters. So I'm going to play that for you right now. Here is Lamore to talk about this week's product pick. Take it away, Lady Ada.
The NeoPixel driver BFF. So it's actually, I designed this after Erin did that project with she was doing the jellyfishes, and she's like, well, I wanted to have a cutie pie and connect a NeoPixel, and I was like, oh, there should be a little board that kind of does all the tough work of that for you. So looking on the back here, in the middle is that little chip in the middle is a 74HCT125 1G, a single gate level shifter that will take the 3-volt logic level and shift it up to 5 volts, which I thought was a nice little add-on, and it uses the USB 5 volts to do that. It's by default using pin A3, and there's jumpers you can cut and solder the jumpers, so you can use like MOSI or RX or TX. So there's no dedicated NeoPixel pin. Instructions are on the back. You solder it back to back. You can either use sockets, or of course you can solder it directly if you like. I perhaps like sockets. And then the connector that's on most NeoPixels is not, it's a JST SH, does not come in a surface mount version. So we put in a JST PH connector, and I'll show it, and then I'll show you how you would connect to a NeoPixel strip that's not. So hold on, let me find here's my demo. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let's go to the overhead. So here I've got an RP2040 Cutie Pie, which is a great NeoPixel driver. It has PIO support. And then you can see on the back here, we've soldered a little socketed version so I can remove it, but you don't have to. You can solder it directly if you want. And for short strips, you can power it directly from the this cable. Like we stock these NeoPixel strips that have the JST PH on them. You get 5 volts from USB, ground from USB, and that level shifted data. So here's the NeoPixel demo. A lot of NeoPixel strips, they either come with raw wires or they come with JST SH. And again, there's no adapter. There's no surface mount version of that connector. However, you can use JST to socket cables, and then you just plug these in to the wires. You just plug the wires in, and they're color coded. So red is power, green is black is ground, and white is signal. We also have a version with plug male headers. So those you plug it in, and then now you have a removable plug version. If you're powering a ton of NeoPixels, like more than 30, honestly, I wouldn't power it from the USB port. I would have a separate 5-volt power supply, in which case you would just connect the ground and signal, and then you could cut the red wire off or just tie it around here and ignore it. And then you would power the strip separately, but have the signal and ground still come from this board. And we have Wi-Fi versions of the QT Py, so if you want to make a WLED project, this would be a great plug-and-play way to do that. It also works with the Xiao boards from Seed, so you want to use their Bluetooth board, make a Bluetooth NeoPixel project. It's just, it's a very inexpensive little add-on, but it should just make NeoPixel projects a lot easier.
Hey, and who doesn't like easier? So let's see. This is a cool one. Let me jump to the down shooter here, and we can take a look at that right there. Flip that over. We've got some of that nice silk screen action on there. And this is my product pick of the week. This week it is the NeoPixel driver BFF for QT Py and Xiao boards. This gives you level shifted 5-volt logic and a really nice easy JST connector for plugging in your NeoPixel strips. You just attach this to the bottom side of a QT Py or a Xiao board, and you are off to the races lighting up your NeoPixels. There's a great way to power it, which is over the USB from your QT Py, and that's going to allow it to use the 5 volts. You can also run this off of a battery, however. I've tried it, it works. And what I'd like to do is, first of all, let's take a look at the product page. This is it right here. You can see we have a nice little example of it there plugged into one of our JST cable-ended NeoPixel strips. We have these in a few flavors, and this is the simplest way to do it, really. If you get one of these, you just plug and play. It's wonderful. You can see here some nice images of the board, and here's an example of it being plugged to the underbelly of a QT Py using some sockets and header pins. As Lady Ada mentioned, you can also just solder it directly if you want to get a really nice tight little package for that. Actually, I've got some nice big pictures I posted right here. You can see it. So some things to mention about this. It defaults to using A3 as the data pin. So in your code, you would say, hey, I'm building a NeoPixel object, and it's going to be on pin A3. Now, if you have other plans for pin A3, if you're using it for something else, maybe you've got a bunch of potentiometers and you want to read those analog ins on your analog pins, don't worry. You can simply cut the trace on that one little, you can see there's a jumper that has a little connection in the middle. You can cut that trace and then solder across one of the other sets of jumpers. So you could make this connect to TX, RX, SCL, MOSI, or SCK, and then the default being the A3. You'll also notice there's a pad there that says SIG. And you can see this from the bottom side of it as well. So that pad right there, that circular pad, that is the signal pin. So that is the pin that is going to the NeoPixels. So you could solder to this directly if you needed to, if you're doing some other kind of setup. But normally what you'll do is just connect it to the QT Py and then use either A3 or connect up these jumpers to pick something else. Now, as Lady Ada mentioned, this has the 5-volt regulator, or rather this has the 5-volt level shifter on it, so it is really up to spec on NeoPixels. I know a lot of times we abuse things and we use 3-volt logic on our 5-volt NeoPixels, and things mostly turn out okay, but sometimes you can get flaky behavior. This is really the proper way to do it, is to get that level shifted to the same voltage as we're driving it with, which is 5 volts in this case. And you can drive around 30 to 60 NeoPixels with it. So this type of strip right here, this is a 30 NeoPixel strip. This is a great one to drive. As you work with NeoPixels, what you'll find is that you can roughly say it's 20 milliamps per NeoPixel per color. So if you're just lighting up red on one NeoPixel, you're using 20 milliamps. If you light one up as white, so that's R, G, and B, all full blast, now you've used 60. So you can do some math there to figure out what it'll handle. And I think it says in the spec sheet, which we'll look at in a second, what the maximum is recommended for that. So now let's take a look at it in action. So I'm going to jump back down to my down shooter, and let's take that off of there. I'm going to pull out just a little bit on the camera. So here is, this was this idea that Liz had for color coding these so that you have less likely chance of plugging things in backwards because it is symmetrical. And you'll see here on the BFF it says USB. So it says the USB is up on the Cutie Pie. So that's proper orientation. So I just picked some color matched headers there so that I could plug that in and know that everything was in the right orientation. And let me focus this a little bit better. Come back this way. So you can see here I've got a Cutie Pie RP2040, I've got the BFF, and then I'll plug in the NeoPixel strip here that I have with the JST connector. So only can plug in one way, that's a keyed connection there. And then I'm going to simply plug in a USB-C cable. This is going to a powered hub on my computer. And you can see there I'm lighting up some NeoPixels, lighting them away. And I'll show you this actually. Let me zoom out so you can see this a little better here because it's a big strip and it'll look better with more coverage. Let me see. If I tilt that down, you can see a little bit better. Get in camera there. So this is running the, let me pull my cable up there. This is running on CircuitPython using the LED animation library. And this is the simple Comet, using a few of these Comet animations in different colors to zip along the NeoPixels there. So that's a fun way to light things up. And the other example I wanted to show you, I'm going to go ahead and unplug power on that. And Lady Ada mentioned that we have some cables that you can use to make your own. So here's one of these NeoPixel surface mount rings that we sell. I don't know if we still have these in stock, but we had these at one point. And I took one of our JST connectors that has pins on one end and just soldered it directly to that. So that gives me an easy way to plug this into my BFF there, best friend forever. So now if I go ahead and plug this in, you'll see it's actually got more LEDs on there than the code that I was using, so it's only going to light up 30 of them. But let's take a look actually at what that looks like in code. This is pretty standard NeoPixel code that we'll use for this inside of CircuitPython or Arduino. So right now I've got board imported, NeoPixel, and then the LED animation library. I'm bringing in Comet, I'm bringing in some colors, and I'm bringing in the animation sequence so that I can run multiple animation sequences one after another. Here you can see I've picked board A3, and that's the default on here, unless I cut that jumper and solder up a different one. And then I'm saying how many pixels I've got on here. This one I think is 44. And then I'm going to lower the brightness on this a little bit just because we've got it on camera and it's pretty dang bright. How about 0.2? And the pixel speed is good. The interval speed, I'm going to set this to a second just to see if that, since we have more pixels on here, if that gets us through the full Comet before the next one starts up. Yeah, there we go. So now I've changed that to use the proper number of NeoPixels for the type of board I've got. And it's all a really nice, easy connection with that BFF on there. So let's see. Let me know if you got any questions. And we'll also take a look at the library, or the Learn guide for this. One question we got from Kayoshi is, what's the advantage of using this instead of just driving it directly, aside from the removable 3-pin connector? That pretty much is it, other than the level shifting and the capacitors on there. So sometimes you'll see in our Uber guide on NeoPixels, really the proper way is to have a capacitor and a resistor and 5-volt logic. That's really what the NeoPixels want. We get away with a lot. So this makes it very, very proper. Can solve problems with the first NeoPixel being weird colors that happens, but that tends to be on older NeoPixels. The newer ones seem a little more tolerant. And then, yes, like you said, having this 3-pin connector, that's really the big reason why Lady Ada built this originally for Erin, was she was doing an installation with these LED jellyfish, and she just wished she had an easy way to connect things up. So instead of having to wire up your own connectors onto the Cutie Pie, now you've got this purpose built for it. And let's see, any other questions in there? think so. So let's take a look here over at the Learn Guide. Bring that up on my system. Here you can see this takes you through all of the overview info on this, gives you the pinout for it, lets you know how to adjust the jumpers selections depending on the pin you want to send out on. There's the list of pins that you can use. And then we've got example code in CircuitPython as well as Arduino. And then we have the download section here, which will tell you is a data sheet for the level shifter we're using, as well as the schematics and files. So I guess we don't have info there on the maximum number. Late Ada said give it 30 to 60 NeoPixels at max, but don't go full blast white. So I'm guessing that 60 times 60 is more current than it can draw, 60 times 60 milliamps. So somewhere in there, your mileage will vary. Let's see. Any other questions we've got? I don't think so. So head on over. Here you'll see it is $1.98 today, so a significant discount. And depending on the types of NeoPixels you have, you may already have some that have this type of connector on there, which makes life really, really easy. We also have different flavors of these with different ends on them. There's alligator clip ones, there's sockets, there's pins, so you can pick up some of those cables as well if you need them. And let me see if there's nothing else I'm forgetting. That is going to do it. So that's the site you want to go to if you're just joining us and you want to go quickly jump in on that discount action. You can get up to 10 of them and no resellers allowed. So you can get a whole bunch of these. Maybe pick up some cutie pies and some NeoPixel strips along the way, and do some props and cosplay and decorations, holiday stuff. I believe we're pretty close to or past the shipping deadline for any Christmas stuff. So I don't think, I'm not sure, but I don't think you'll make that. Maybe unless you're in New York City, they might be getting same day. I think that's going to do it. So thanks everyone for stopping by. Just so you know, I'll be back tomorrow night for the workshop show. And then there will not be a product pick of the week next week, but there will be another workshop show next Wednesday, just to take some time off for some of these holidays. All right, so that right there, pull this off of here. Oh wait, here's my spare. That right there is my product pick of the week this week. It is the NeoPixel driver BFF for Cutie Pie and Xiao boards. And I'm going to hang this one. Thanks everyone for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park, and this has been JP's product pick of the week. Bye-bye.